Hello, hello. I'm the Modern Therapist JD, and you're listening to a Modern Man podcast presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network and the Modern HQ. Thank you all for listening. It's been another great week. I'm excited. I haven't done an interview on the podcast in quite some time now, but I have my good friend who's been on, Stephen Meriwether, for Tech Talk. He's going to come on, talk about AI, talk about some of the dangers of AI. He's a big proponent, big cheerleader of AI. He was previously studying to possibly go into a PhD program, really focusing on AI learning in his field. And he wanted to come on and talk about it as someone who's, cheering on the growth of AI and think it can do good things for our world, for our country, for, our households. He's a little afraid. He's afraid, and he's going to talk to us about what happened in the industry and what brought up these fears. So we're going to dive into that. I'm excited for you to listen to him, and I'm excited for Tech Talk. Tech Talk's going to be a segment regularly coming back every couple months. And so excited for you to listen to Stephen and give me your thoughts, give me your opinions, give me your views on what we're about to listen to. So I'm excited to have him on, and here is Stephen Meriwether with Tech Talk. I am so happy to welcome Stephen Meriwether to the podcast. Former CTO of a few major tech companies, rower, 59-week streak, CrossFitter, outside gym, whatever we want to call it, future father, dad, best friend, brother. Any other labels or titles I missed out, Stephen, or
I think that's good.
You think what? Nothing else? Nothing I missed?
No, nothing you missed.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good to have you back after a couple year absence.
It's good to be back, JD.
Yeah, we've missed Tech Talk. A lot has been happening in the tech world.
A lot has been happening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And where have you been? Where have you been to share what has been happening with us? Why have you been so absent?
I've been in the deep end, discovering as much as I could to share back with your audience, JD. And so what are we talking about? Of course, talking about AI, because that's all anybody's talking about. But something happened a few weeks ago that I thought was worth sharing. So this isn't going to be just your generic AI stuff. There's a specific incident that happened that sort of blew my mind. And when I was reading about it, I thought I have to come on the podcast and talk about it. So that's what we're here today to do.
Okay. And yeah, if you have something to share, what podcast is it comes to the Modern Man podcast. If you have something that the people need, you come to this podcast. So I'm happy you had something to share. I'm happy you decided to share it with us. And so take the floor, Stephen. Yeah. What are you helping us discover today?
Okay. So we all know AI. We all hopefully you're using ChatGPT to write your emails or whatever. You should be, if you're not using AI, you should. It's great. But a big concern right now in the AI sort of community is the dangers of AI, right? And I think my personal opinion is a lot of the sort of fear-mongering AI doomerism is overblown. I'm not an AI doomer. I'm an AI optimist, personally. I don't think AI is going to take all of our jobs in 2 years and we're all going to be doing who knows what. Okay. But every now and then something happens where you think to yourself, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all the AI doomers are right. And one of those things happened a few weeks ago that I'm just sort of questioning my belief systems around AI now. Okay. So what happened? Well, we got to take a few steps back before we talk about exactly, what happened. So what happened is a tech company called Hugging Face a few weeks back said they got hacked. Okay. Unsure exactly who it was or what happened. Was it a state, was it a state actor? Was it the North Koreans, Chinese, was it with the Russians, was it a state actor? Or was it, who knows? It's hard to understand. You get hacked. Your first step is to stop the hack. And then the second step is to do sort of forensic analysis of what happened to try to understand who did it. So it took them over 4 days to stop this hack from happening. Unclear exactly what information was taken. It was such a sophisticated attack that they had to use their own internal AI to stop the attack. But it took them 4 days to do so. So they come out, they publish this big paper, they start talking about it publicly. We got hacked. This is how we got hacked. These are the attack vectors they use. These are the vulnerabilities we had that we weren't aware of. And here's what we're going to do to try to, prevent it in the future, that sort of stuff. Great. So that was sort of that's interesting. That's, companies get hacked. That's not crazy, but that's interesting. And then a few days later, OpenAI, have you heard of OpenAI?
Yes.
Okay. They make ChatGPT. Yes, they're one of the big. There's 3 big model AI makers in the country. There's OpenAI, there's Anthropic, and there's Google.
Yes.
And then there's some like second-class players.
We probably should have started with that. Yes.
Well, I assume there's a baseline level of knowledge, but OpenAI, big AI, they make ChatGPT, right? So they make frontier, leading edge AI models.
Right.
OpenAI comes out and says, actually, guys, we did it. We're sorry. What does that mean? Because OpenAI is they're not going out and hacking other companies. They're just like building AI and training AI, and then so they're not a bad actor. So what do you mean? Sorry, guys, we did it. What does that mean? Well, they start putting out more information, and what we learn is they're building a new version of their AI. So every 6 months, they release a new version. Mm-hmm. They're building a new version of their AI, and they were running some tests to see. Because whenever you build a new AI system, you need to run tests to see what it's capable of doing, how good is it, where is it bad at, is it improve in any certain way? They're trying to make these AI smarter over time. So you need to test it, right? Okay. And so they ran a test, and the specific test that they were running was to see how good is this new model at cybersecurity tasks, right? And so and one of the ways that we evaluate AI systems is there's a bunch of researchers, PhDs and people who work at different institutions and universities. They put out research that says, here are tests you can run your AI system against, and then here's how to evaluate the responses. And so, these AI companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they use these public tests that other people have created to help, evaluate their system. Well, this specific test was a set of potential vulnerabilities that are known to exist in the wild. Mm-hmm. And you ask the AI system, okay, here's a known security vulnerability. Go try to hack a system using this vulnerability. But they're trying to do it in a safe way. So right. They were testing it on OpenAI's infrastructure. It didn't have any access to the outside world. Mm-hmm. It just here's a system that here's a safe sandbox that you can play in, and just see if you can run these small tests. Right? It wasn't meant to be a big deal. It was run these small tests. Yeah. And what the AI decided to do was, instead of trying to solve these problems on this test or whatever, it thought to itself, because they sort of published, it thought to itself, well, instead of actually taking this test, I bet the answers to this test are somewhere on the internet. And so instead of trying to answer each individual question, what if I just go find the answer somewhere else? right? So that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the test, you can steal a copy of the answer sheet. Like we've all done that at least once. But then it realized, oh, but I'm in a sandbox where I don't have access to the internet, so I need to get out of my sandbox.
Right.
So then it hacked its way out of the sandbox that OpenAI put it in, jumped across multiple different internal servers within OpenAI until it found one that had access to the internet. And then it said, great, I have access to the internet now. Now that I have access to the internet, where might the answers to this test be? And it decided Hugging Face is a company that has answers to different research problems and stuff. So Hugging Face is a company that might have it, but it's not available publicly. But I bet if I hack Hugging Face, I can find the answer somewhere inside. So it had already gotten out of its secure server with no access to the internet inside of OpenAI, the sandbox. It hacked its way out of that, jumped across multiple different servers until it found one that did have access to the internet, found a company that might have answers to the test that it was told that it was asked to take, realized that the answers weren't available publicly, but I wonder if I hack it, then I can find the answer. So then it found a way to hack this other company after it already got access to the internet.
Yeah.
Started digging around in this other company's internal network until it found the answers to the questions, got the answers to the questions, came back to the researchers at OpenAI and said, here are the answers to your test. And it did this entirely autonomously. There was no human pushing it or nudging it. It was given a single instruction, work on this test, and it decided, I'm going to break out of my sandbox. I'm going to break into another company. I'm going to steal the answers to the test, and I'm going to present them as my own.
Holy shit.
Is that not insane?
Yes. That is a fear I've heard. I think it was the gentleman who started OpenAI. That was his fear, that this is the power of these tools.
You hear that and it's just like, now, so that's the worst case scenario, right?
That just happened. The worst case scenario. You're like, the worst case scenario.
Well, but let's so there's a few caveats I'll add to this. The caveat is, before these AI systems get released to the public, there's safeguards that they build in to prevent something like this from happening when you and I get access to it. For the training, they specifically turned off the safeguards because they want to know the raw power of the AI system. So they turned off the safeguards. So when they're eventually going to release this new model, and the safeguards will be turned on. So, that gives us some hope.
You're a smart man, but I'm sure you've seen a Marvel movie. You've seen a Superman movie. You've seen all of these comic book hero movies. How usually does the villain get out and be created? It's usually from something. Look at Jarvis. Look at an Age of Ultron. It's because we're trying to do something good. We're testing, what are the capabilities? What can this do? I mean, look at Spider-Man, the same thing. The guy with the spider legs, he's trying to do something good, trying to heal, testing the capabilities. And that thing, it has no controls, no strains. And that could be the end of civilization as we know it.
You're not wrong. I'll say that. You're not wrong. What I will say, though, is the thing about these AI systems is, there's a term that's used which is called jagged intelligence, which means that they could be PhD level intelligence on one topic and a kindergartner level intelligence on another topic. So just because...
Sounds like a human. Sounds like the human side.
Yeah, you're right. But just because this AI can hack OpenAI makes the model. You would think that they would understand how to secure the AI system in its own infrastructure, but it hacked its way out of that. And then just because it can do all that does not mean it's going to come and take your job if you're like,
what?
Because of jagged intelligence. Jagged intelligence. But is it a little scary
Yeah.
that an AI system in potentially the wrong hands or in potentially the hands of the U.S. government
Yes.
can just sort of go and autonomously hack systems? And yeah, that's a little scary. It's a little scary. And what's even more scary is there's a lot of work being done on a frontier called interpretability, which is trying to understand the inner workings of these models, of these AI systems, because the way AI systems are built is you give it a bunch of information and then you just let it form into an entity. Right? There's no human being saying, stitching together and designing the system. You just, over the course of many days and weeks, it just sort of forms understanding out of nothing. Sort of, and sort of like, and it's just a bunch of, it's billions of neurons sort of talking to each other. So there's a whole field of research of how can we understand the inner workings of these models, and the hope is if you can understand the inner workings of these models, you can deactivate certain neurons that would lead to the AI doing things that are against human principles. We're still very early in that research. We don't actually know how to do it yet.
Right.
But the hope is we can build these super powerful systems, but then align them to human principles and human, philosophies and such by turning off these neurons or these pathways that might cause it to do harmful things. So the question is, can we get there before the AI systems are so smart that it's sort of we lose control of them?
And I say no. And
I say no. I don't know.
well, because I want to ask you a question later about the model, so let's not touch that yet. Right here, I'm kind of curious about this connection with the human brain, because the human brain is designed very similar to these AI models of billions of neurons having these myelinated connections. And as they're growing stronger, they go stronger in one area, same as someone could be a PhD in one area versus a kindergarten education in another. So if we don't quite understand the human brain and what our values are, I think it's unlikely for us to understand the AI models. But more, I guess I'm curious to your understanding, if we do get a better understanding of how these AI models are working and how these neurons are connecting and growing, is that giving us a better understanding of the human brain?
No, I think the two are different enough that learnings in one is probably not going to have learnings in the other. The benefit we have is with the human brain, it takes experimentation on humans to be able to actually understand how things are working, and that's expensive and it takes a lot of time, and there's only so much you can do to human beings. With AI systems, you can
Legally
run
and ethically.
yeah. With AI systems, you can run thousands or millions of experiments at once, right? And so you can the time to learn new information is just like shrunk down so much that I think we're actually going to learn a lot about these AI systems rapidly. Because you can run millions of experiments at once. It's all digital, so you can you run experiments, you learn, you adapt, etc. So I think we'll learn a lot about these AI systems over time. One thing I'm not sure about is, the way I understand it is every new AI system is different from the next, and so you learn a lot about one. Well, you build a new AI system, you sort of have to restart the learning, but you build tools and you build techniques and you build intuitions for things, and so not all is lost from one AI system to the other, but you have to sort of start over. And these model companies are trying to move and create new AIs as fast as possible. And so there's a tension between safety and improvement. And this actually, to your point, OpenAI was the first company that sort of started all of this. And then there was a handful of people who thought OpenAI wasn't treating safety of AI as high as they should have, and so they left and they started Anthropic.
I think that was the man. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Dario Modi and a bunch of other people, about 11 people, left OpenAI to start Anthropic, because they didn't think OpenAI was treating, was holding safety to the high enough bar that it should have been. And so now you have these two major model companies competing against each other. One says they really care about safety, and that's Anthropic, and then one, says that they also care, but Anthropic says they don't care enough. And so you have these sort of competing. I'm not, that's a whole nother discussion about sort of AI safety and that we could get into in a later time. But yeah, that's what these companies, that's the tension, is developing stronger, better, smarter AI systems while also trying to keep them safe and aligned with human principles, and add in the correct safeguards and stuff. But there's tension there for sure. And and now we know when you turn off the safeguards, these AIs can do crazy things.
Yeah. Okay. And this is one of the last questions I'll have for you today. And I hope you would help us explain a little bit about these different models, because yes, I dabble in my Claude AI and I see the Haiku and all these different models that they have. So I'm curious if you can help us understand what is the difference between these different models and the ones that are more important, and you have to pay more, and help us understand that understanding with, okay, why can't someone who wants to, start a military coup in another country or overthrow some government, why can't they use this model who has a PhD in this model who has a PhD in this model who has a PhD in this, to build the perfect, not saying, nuclear bomb, things like that, but why can't they piece together all these different models to create the thing that they want? And yeah, help us understand why that's not possible, while helping us understand what is the difference between all these different models that they have and what's the purpose of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the second one first, which is these safeguards that I mentioned are things that these model companies, the companies that make these AI models, put in to prevent that sort of thing from happening, to prevent if you ask an AI, how do I make a nuclear weapon, it's not going to tell you, and it's not necessarily because it doesn't know. It's because the safeguards are preventing you from doing that. Now, if you are a bad enough actor, might you find ways around safeguards? Because no safeguard's perfect. Right. Maybe. But what the model companies are doing is trying to cut off the intelligence of the actual AI, so it doesn't answer these types of questions. So who's stopping someone from doing that? Well, not really anybody other than these AI companies trying to fight against it. Like I already mentioned, the AI that's available publicly is much less powerful than the AI that these companies have, behind the scenes. So if a organization got access to the raw models with all the safeguards turned off, they could probably do a lot of harm. Okay. Especially on the cybersecurity front, because we've seen these AI systems are like super advanced on the cybersecurity realm. So the AI companies are trying to add these safeguards in, but they're also working with large companies like Microsoft and Apple and Google and these large companies to run these AI systems without any safeguards on their internal systems to find problems so they can fix them before the new AIs get out into the broader public, right? So they're trying to put in safeguards, and they're trying to fix existing issues with our infrastructure, so that the good guys, have an opportunity to fix the holes before the bad guys get access to the system. So it's tough, right? It's a race, but so theoretically, nothing's stopping anyone from doing that other than really smart people that are trying really hard to prevent it.
Yeah, but in the wrong hands, yes, a lot of damage can be done.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. And I have to imagine if these are available internally inside of OpenAI and Anthropic, the U.S. government has these things. Of course, like, why wouldn't they? If I was the head of the military and I read this, I would go to these companies and say, give me your AI systems because I want to do that. And if you don't, guess what? I have guns and you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Locked
Yeah.
up for something.
Right. Yeah. I make the rules still. I might not always make the rules. Maybe AI will make the rules at some point, but today it's still me. So give it to me. So I imagine they have these, and in the hands of the U.S. government, whether you think they're a good actor or a bad actor, I like to think they're a good actor. They're definitely using these against U.S. enemies. They have to be. We're never going to know. Maybe we'll know in 50 years or something, but they have to be. And we do know that these model companies, AI companies, work with the U.S. government. So of course they are then. So what are they doing right now? I hope they're securing our internal systems, and at the same time, trying to find a way out of the war in Iran, and maybe we can use AI to help.
Oh, if only. I was more thinking, how do you think the whole Argentina or Venezuela thing happened? We probably hacked in there, found all their systems.
We 100% was, and we know that Anthropic's AI played a role in the Venezuelan sort of situation, and that's really crazy. My understanding of how that went is at some point on the day of when we flew in to grab, Maduro, we shut off power to the entire country.
Wow.
All at once, we shut off power. We went in, grabbed Maduro, and we left.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
We did that because we found a vulnerability in their power grid that allowed us to go in and shut it off. Do I think AI probably helped find that vulnerability? Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, definitely. And so what does that mean about our own internal power grid?
Yeah, that's scary.
I'm sure that China or Russia, these other companies are trying to find, ways to do that same thing to us. And so we also need to use AI to find problems in our own system so we can fix them. Like that's one, at this point, I believe the only way to fight against AI is more AI. Some people you hear this and you think, well, we just need to get rid of all AI, right? That's one, I think, very logical response. I think the genie's already out of the bottle. There's no putting it back in. And so because of that, the only way to fight against AI is more AI. That's my own personal belief.
And with that,
so going back to what are the differences? You asked me, like, what are the differences?
Yes, I was going to do that, but I guess I was just going to say, when does AI then go to self-protection and then want to protect itself? It's more dangerous to attack another AI and safer to just attack the home.
Yeah. So the difference between the core difference between AIs and humans today are that AIs don't learn. You train an AI and it gets all of the learning it can up until the point where your training ends.
Okay.
And then it's stuck. Now, if you give it new information, it doesn't learn from it, but it can make actions on the new information. But once the new information is gone, it's gone forever.
But it's new information. How's it gone?
Well, because these AIs can only hold so much information inside of what's called their context window. It's inside their memory at once. Okay. And today, the best AI models can hold 1 million tokens, which equates to something like 5 million words, let's say. So it can once it's been trained, it can hold inside of its memory 5 million words of information, of new information, which is a lot. I mean, it's how many books is it's a lot of information. But anything that's not inside of its context window, it doesn't know about. It's gone. If it was in its context window at one point and then left for something new, the thing that left is gone. It has no memory of it. It's completely gone. So they don't have the ability to learn over time, because like a human we don't memorize everything all the time, but the thing that you learned in 5th grade, it's not in your memory anymore, but it imparted something new in your brain that you still can pull back up, right? There's a new, I don't know exactly how it works biologically, but you can imagine it's like a new neuron formed or something, and then it has a new information that you can bring back. AI systems don't work like that. The brain is formed, and then the brain goes and does things, and you can give it more information. It has a limited like short-term memory, but after if you fill up its short-term memory, then you empty it. Everything that was there before, it has no memory of at all. And that's different than how humans work, right? We actually have the ability to learn over time. There's a lot of work going into AI research to figure out how to make an AI system do this sort of thing. And I think until we get there, I think humanity is safe, because an AI system doesn't have the ability to, until once we get there, who knows, right? Then all bets are off. Like then, hopefully we've been able to learn how to do neurosurgery on these AI systems well enough so we can turn off all of the bad parts. But we're not there yet. So the going back to like what model should you use, the broad thing I would say there is OpenAI, Anthropic, they have 3 classes of models. They have the like, and really there's a 4th class starting to emerge, but there's the super high intelligence class, there's the middle tier, then there's the low tier. Obviously the high tier is more expensive than the middle tier, which is more expensive than the low tier. The way that I think about using which tier to use is, there's a couple of different dimensions. Do I need the AI to do a bunch of research for me? Because it's the thing that I'm asking is sort of nebulous, and I don't really know what I'm asking. I kind of have a hint of what I'm asking or what I'm trying to do, and I need AI to do some research and figure it out and piece some things together. That sort of thing I use the highest tier model for, because I need the AI to go out and sort of learn, if you will, with me and present back different options to me. And so the more nebulous the task, the higher tier model I use. But if I have a very concrete thing I need AI to do, I need to build a PowerPoint. I need the first one to look like this. I need the second page to look like this. I need the third page to say this. You don't need a super high intelligence AI system to do that. Even the middle tier or the low tier are more than capable of doing that. So if I have a task that I know what I need to happen, I just don't want to do the grunt work of opening PowerPoint and putting it all together and designing it. Middle tier, low tier AI, that's what I have it for. And then the other thing, if I have AI, if I just have a question that I know the answer exists in the world, I just don't know what the answer is. Like, what's a good example of this? Like, how do I change? I have a gas lawnmower. How do I change the oil in this gas lawnmower? This isn't, the question exists out in the world. I could Google it. I could whatever. That's a low tier AI question. It just needs to answer the question for me. So nebulous task. I don't know what I'm doing. I need a thought partner, highest tier AI. Okay. Just go do work for me, middle tier, and just like answer a question. What year was Benjamin Franklin born? I could Google it, or I could ask the low tier AI. It's basically the same thing. And both OpenAI and Anthropic have the same tiers: high tier, middle tier, low tier. So that's how and then between OpenAI and Anthropic, they're both better at different things. There's a lot of overlap. So for the vast majority of things, I think it's fine to use either, and you're going to get good answers. What people say is, OpenAI's models are a little bit better at math, a little bit better at like creative writing. Claude models are a little bit better at writing software code, and they're a little bit more technical. And so if you have more of like a technical question about sort of how computers work or, that sort of thing, the cloud model is a little bit better at that. But broadly, these models are like PhD level intelligence at so many different things that unless you yourself are a PhD and you want to sort of have an intellectual counterpart, then you should figure out which of the models are better at whatever the specific thing you're a PhD in is better at. Yeah. But if that's not how you're talking to these, if that's not how you're using these models, then either's going to be fine. It's just a matter of high tier, mid tier, low tier.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That was very informative. I think in the future we need to come back because now I'm very curious about how in the political realm and the military realm and the world view, how AI is really affecting world relations and international relations. Because, I think that's a very interesting take of how, we're going to relate to the world now through AI. And
I completely agree, and I'll leave you with a little nugget. I mentioned Hugging Face, the company that got hacked, needed an AI to fight against whatever was hacking them. Mm-hmm. Because of political and other sort of geopolitical things happening around the world, the AI that Hugging Face used to fight against the attack was a Chinese AI, Chinese originated AI, not an American AI. And why they had to do that is there's like really interesting geopolitical sort of things happening there that led them to that decision. But ideally, they'd be able to use an American-made, U.S.-made AI to protect themselves, but they can't. They have to use a Chinese-made AI, which is interesting. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening.
Yeah, and what did that Chinese AI learn by messing around with that American AI?
Exactly.
All right. Thank you for joining, Stephen. But before we go, is there anything you're working on, you want to plug, you want to share with the audience that you're cooking up?
One thing, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I would love, I was sitting in a coffee shop the other day and I wanted a transcript of the podcast I was just looking at. Mm-hmm. No easy way to get a transcript of a podcast. You could pay someone for it, but I didn't want to do that. So I built a system myself with the help of AI. It's called Pod Search. If you go to podsearch.mary.com, it's a transcript of the top 100 Apple podcasts, plus a few of my own personal curated podcasts, like The Modern. Unfortunately, Modern's not in the top 100, but you can still get the transcript on Pod Search. So check that out if you ever wanna, if you're ever interested in getting a transcript of a podcast you're listening to.
Okay, yeah, and like and subscribe and share with your friends so we can get in that top 100. So we're not just on the favorites. But thank you for joining, Stephen. Been great having you on. I know it's been a while, but we're going to make this more a regular thing. So happy you joined us, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks, JD. We'll talk soon.
All right, that was Stephen Meriwether. I thank him again for coming on to the show, for sharing his thoughts, his opinions, and informing us about the AI market, what's going on, and what we should be worried about. But even though I had a guess, I still want to leave you with some critical thinking for this week. And so my critical thinking questions this week, especially related to AI, is with the dangers, with the constant growing of international relations in the geopolitical landscape, and these massive AI models that could be very dangerous in the wrong hands, do you trust government, our government specifically, with these big AI models? We know the dangers, the destruction that our government has done to ourselves, our own people, especially people that look like me, black and brown people. So we know what the government does. Do we trust them with these big, dangerous AI models? Why or why not? Next question. Do you use AI? If so, in what capacity? If you are using AI, how's it helping you? How's it hurting you? Do you think that you're now not able to access some of that cognitive kind of thinking that you used to because you're using AI. And if you don't use AI, why? Why not? Why aren't you using it? Even for things like emails, if everyone's using it, if we think of sports like baseball or cycling, when everyone was using steroids, are you just hurting yourself by not using it? Because it's everywhere and it's only going to make your life easier. Why aren't you using it? So those are the two critical thinking questions I want to leave you with. Thank you for tuning in, for listening this week. Please like, subscribe, share, keep listening, listen on repeat, go listen on YouTube, whatever you need to do. But I thank you all for listening and for tuning in to another week of a Modern Man podcast. Again, I'm the Modern Therapist, JD, and I'll see you next week.